The crack of the bat echoed through Citizens Bank Park, and for one fleeting second, it felt like baseball magic. Harrison Bader's home run ball soared into the stands, and there was Andrew Feltwell scrambling through the row, bumping into seats, snagging the ball clean before anyone else could. He turned, grinning ear to ear, and placed it into his son Lincoln's glove. The boy's birthday wish had just come true, a hug, a cheer, a memory sealed in gold. But within moments, that joy was hijacked. A woman stormed over, finger pointed, voice sharp, shouting the words that now circle the internet. "You took it from me!" She didn't stop there. According to Andrew, she leaned in close, yelling directly into his ear, unleashing what he later called many, many inappropriate words right in front of his child. Phones went up. Boos rained down. And in an instant, a family's once-in-a-lifetime moment turned into a viral controversy, with one question echoing far beyond the stadium. Who is Phillies Karen? To understand why this clip struck such a chord, you have to picture the moment in full. The pitch comes in, the swing connects, and suddenly the ball is rising high into left field. Fans in the section rise to their feet, tracking it like a spotlight cutting through the night. Andrew Feltwell, sitting beside his son Lincoln, sees the arc and knows it's heading their way. He shuffles a few steps, bumps into a chair, then lunges. The ball bounces, rattles between two armrests, and for a split second it looks lost. But Andrew doesn't give up. He scoops it clean and stands tall, ball in hand. The crowd reacts, that warm ripple of applause for a good catch. And then comes the moment that made him feel like super dad. Without hesitation, he turns to Lincoln, drops the ball into his glove, and gives him a hug. Lincoln's face lights up, the kind of pure joy you only get once. As Andrew later told Good Morning America, it felt like walking back as super dad. That was our first home run ball after all our games. Around them, fans smiled, phones captured the memory. For the Feltwells, it was the culmination of years of going to games, finally rewarded with a storybook souvenir. Baseball at its best, fathers and sons, passes of leather and history, a timeless ritual. But as it turned out, the moment wasn't destined to stay perfect for long. What should have ended as cheers and smiles suddenly shifted into confrontation. As Andrew and Lincoln celebrated their once-in-a-lifetime catch, a woman stormed down the row. Her face was tight with frustration, her arm thrust forward, her finger pointed like an accusation. The words cut through the noise of the crowd. "You took it from me." Andrew recalls the moment clearly. She leaned right into his ear, so close he had to lean back to get away. And it wasn't just one angry shout. As he later explained, she let loose many, many inappropriate words right in front of Lincoln, who was still clutching the ball, wide-eyed and unsure. The mood around them shifted instantly. The section that had been clapping and recording a wholesome father-son moment was now buzzing with tension. Fans traded looks, as if asking one another, "Are we really watching this happen?" Phones shot up higher, capturing every second. What had been a private victory turned into a public trial. Andrew tried to defuse the situation, raising his palms in that universal gesture of peace. But the woman wouldn't stop pressing her claim, stepping closer, repeating that the ball was hers, that he had ripped it away. The cheers faded into scattered boos, the kind that carry judgment from every corner of a ballpark. And in the middle of it all, sat Lincoln, his smile gone, his shoulders hunched, gripping that ball as if it were a shield. A perfect memory was slipping away, replaced by confusion and embarrassment. It was then that Andrew had to make a choice no father wants to face. As the shouting carried on and the crowd grew restless, Andrew realized the night was teetering on the edge of ruin. His son was shrinking into his seat, clutching the ball like a lifeline, and the last thing Andrew wanted was for Lincoln's birthday memory to be branded by a stranger's anger. So he made a decision no father should have to make. With a calm voice and steady hands, Andrew surrendered the ball. He let the woman take it, not because she had earned it, but because he wasn't willing to let his son's night spiral into a public brawl. The reaction was immediate. The woman lifted the ball above her head like a trophy, strutting as if she had just won the game herself. But the cheers she expected never came. Instead, the boos grew louder, phones zoomed in closer, and the energy of the section flipped from awkward to openly hostile. Around Andrew, fans voiced what everyone was thinking. That was for the kid. The unwritten rule of baseball had been broken. For generations, there's been a simple code: when a foul ball or home run ends up near a child, that child gets the souvenir. No debates, no arguments, no exceptions. Because baseball, at its heart, is about passing memories forward. Andrew knew it. The crowd knew it. And that's why the moment stung so deeply. Lincoln's milestone had been taken away, not by chance, but by choice. But just when it seemed the night would be lost, the story took a turn. What could have ended in bitterness began to shift, thanks to the very people who understood what baseball is supposed to mean. Stadium staff had been watching, and within minutes they quietly stepped in. They guided Andrew and Lincoln down toward the dugout. The woman sat with her baseball, but the real story was about to change direction. When Lincoln came back, he wasn't empty-handed. The Miami Marlins had gifted him a bag full of team merchandise, a small gesture that spoke volumes. They weren't going to let a child leave the park disappointed. And the Phillies weren't about to stand on the sidelines either. After the final out, Lincoln was handed something even better than the disputed home run ball, a signed bat from Harrison Bader, the very player who had launched it into the stands. The crowd cheered. Phones captured the boy's smile as wide as the diamond itself. For Lincoln, the sting of losing that ball began to fade. He later admitted, "I would have still liked that home run ball to put in our room, but everything else, it's all just as good in the end." That's when the story flipped once again. The woman may have walked away with the baseball, but Lincoln walked away with something more valuable, a memory of kindness, of players and teams, recognizing what really mattered. The contrast was clear. Entitlement had grabbed the spotlight for a moment, but generosity stole the show. And beyond the stadium walls, the internet was watching closely. What happened in Philadelphia wasn't just a one-off outburst. It was part of a larger conversation about sportsmanship, culture, and the way fans shape the stories that outlast the games themselves. Because here's the truth, a foul ball, or even a home run ball, is never just a piece of leather. It's a symbol. It carries the weight of tradition, the idea that baseball is passed from one generation to the next. That's why there's an unwritten rule in every ballpark in America. When a kid gets the ball, the story ends there. It belongs to them. No questions asked. The Phillies incident stood out because it violated that code so publicly. But it also echoed a pattern that fans had just seen days earlier at the US Open. A Polish CEO was caught on camera snatching a signed tennis ball from a child. The backlash was swift, merciless, and global. Clips of him went viral, his reputation shredded overnight. By contrast, another fan at the same tournament caught a ball and immediately handed it to a kid in front of him. That simple gesture drew cheers and praise from commentators, a reminder of what doing the right thing looks like. These moments matter because sports aren't just about competition, they're about community. They're where children learn what fairness looks like, where families build memories that last longer than any final score. When adults hijack those memories, they don't just take an object, they take away a story. That's why Andrew and Lincoln's night hit so many nerves. It wasn't just entitlement versus innocence. It was a test of what kind of culture fans want inside their ballparks, one where memories are stolen or one where they're shared. And in the end, the answer came not from the woman who left clutching a ball, but from the teams and fans who rallied to restore a boy's joy. When Andrew and Lincoln left the ballpark that night, they didn't leave with the home run ball they had dreamed of, but they carried something more meaningful. Lincoln had a signed bat, a bag of gifts, and a story that would live on far longer than any souvenir. More importantly, he had a memory of his father protecting him, of a community and two teams stepping up to make things right. The woman who sparked the controversy? She walked away with a ball, but lost something much harder to replace respect. In the digital age, a moment of selfishness doesn't stay in the stands. It follows you, replayed endlessly, dissected frame by frame. And the harshest part isn't just the boos of a crowd, but the silence that comes after, when no one is on your side. Baseball has always been called the sport of memory. Fans don't just remember the scores, they remember who they were with, what they felt, and how a single moment shaped their love for the game. That's why incidents like this strike so deeply, because they remind us that the souvenirs don't matter nearly as much as the stories behind them. Andrew's choice to let the ball go, and the Phillies and Marlins' choice to step in, ensured that Lincoln's story didn't end in bitterness. Instead, it became a lesson. That dignity matters more than winning an argument, that kindness can rewrite a moment, and that baseball, at its best, isn't measured by the objects you hold, but by the memories you leave behind.